Hello everybody. Today, we're going to look over at a speculative scenario, just as we previously have done in some of my older videos. This time, we're going to look over at how well would Rhizodus do if it were transported to the present day. But before we begin, I would like to advise you, that if you like the content I generally produce, you might want to like and subscribe. With that out of the way, let's begin. So firstly, we'll need what Rhizodus was. This prehistoric fish of a beast lived back in the Carboniferous period, and was a freshwater organism of the lobe-finned fish family. It was about 5.5 meters long and lived across both North America and Europe, and its diet would have probably consisted of medium-sized fish and other animals. It was also a cold-blooded animal, and because of its sheer size, it would have to be transported into large rivers and lakes. So, the first thing that these sea monsters would notice is the difference in temperatures, depending on where we place them. Of course, these fish, either all of them or a few populations of them, would either live comfortably regarding the local temperatures, or would freeze to death. For this specific scenario, we're going to transport just 1,000 of them, so the ecosystems of their new environments don't collapse, at least immediately. One of the places we're going to put them is in the Mississippi River, specifically in the southern parts of it, and perhaps the most southern parts of the Volga River. However, it might get too cold sometimes, and maybe, just maybe, some parts of the Rhine River. So now, let's talk about its new food diet and competitors. I don't think it will come off as much of a surprise, but these prehistoric fish will be able to eat almost anything they can get their hands, or shall I say, fins on. It would eat fish, small birds nearby the large bodies of waters these fish would reside in, along with the possibility of consuming mammals such as large rabbits or even house pets like cats and dogs from time to time. But they would not be the only ones striving to eat such things. Those fish placed in the Mississippi River would have to compete with American alligators. Now at first, this might seem like a battle instantly won by these enormous reptiles, but not so fast. On average, male American alligators are larger than the females, reaching up to 3.4 meters in length, which is a little bit more than half of the length of the body of the Rhizodus. So even now, the big fish has an advantage. Even more, they likely did the death roll the American alligators do today, which would mean that more than likely, many, if not most of the fights that may or may not break out between the two, would be won by the Rhizodus. Moreover, it also had not only extremely powerful fins, but also functioning lungs, which means that even things close to these large rivers and lakes would not be safe. That would mean, that not only would Rhizodus be a powerful enemy towards the gators, but would also pose threat to their eggs and even youngsters themselves. But, there would be one problem for them: alligators are social animals. Which means, that unless these prehistoric beasts of a fish were too social animals, they would likely not engage much in combat between the two species. And of course, a threat that would be posed towards the Rhizodus fish roe and young fish themselves would be hungry American alligators and even smaller fish. Though, I do not think this would be such a huge problem, as such threats had probably already been existing during the Carboniferous period too, though the small population of these prehistoric fish would likely mean, that these fish roes or young fish being eaten would be more of a problem than it would be usually. Though, if such a large and dangerous fish was to be brought back today in these rivers, they would most likely cause a collapse of the ecosystem, and the fact that this fish suddenly reappeared again would be covered in the news, and would likely attract the attention of illegal hunters and fishermen. Lastly, before I conclude this video, I want to say that, within the first days after they are brought here, bacteria and other microorganisms would affect both the Rhizodus fish and the local animals. Even though viruses would likely not affect neither of those, as they are highly specialized in infecting a certain animal or multiple animal kinds, bacteria would pose threat to both populations. And for all these reasons, I give the Rhizodus an 8.16 to 9.30 on the survivability scale, but hey, thank you for staying through this entire video. If you liked it, remember to comment that or even suggest new video ideas, and remember, always remember, it's all just a speculation. Thanks for watching.
Hallelujah.